I didn't grow up in this town. I didn't come here for glass. I ended up here completely unexpectedly after a few buildings were knocked down in my old neighborhood and I had to find a new place to stay. That was almost 20 years ago and 3,000 miles from here. When I was in New York, I shot independent films.
You've just finished your movie. What are you going to do now?
When I landed on the West Coast, I found work shooting glassblowers for a cat named Dave Winship.
And lately, with your help, you've kind of, you've revitalized that.
That's how I eventually met Eli Mazet, a local glassblower who became a good friend.
You're gonna have to ask me some questions, man. It makes it feel a little easier. I tried to do a little, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll get you a few, whatever. This is good practice for us. I like this.
Yeah.
Good practice for me.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. That's where I got my first torch, and it's also where this film begins. Call it luck, call it fate, call it pure accident. Either way, that's how I ended up here in Pipetown, USA. The oldest known pipes are over 5,000 years old and were fashioned from very hard stone. The borosilicate glass pipe is a more recent development, arriving about 40 years ago.
By 1981 and 82, I was already fuming things a bit.
The earliest versions were fashioned by scientific glassblowers who handled borosilicate glass regularly. But it wasn't until the cannabis community took it up that the borosilicate glass art pipe movement began. And that happened because of a man named Bob Snodgrass in a small city named Eugene on the west coast of the USA.
I didn't bring any marijuana, but that's okay because we're at Bob Snodgrass's house.
That's true.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing? There's never been an economical impact study of what the pipe did for an industry of people raising their families with kids in the backyard. I was amazed when I got into glass and learned that this guy in Eugene started pipe making, and inspired the world.
I've been all over the country, especially back in the beginning. There was no pipe making scene outside of Eugene. And it all comes from Snodgrass. So you have one pinpoint of light that's rippled it out across the world now at this point. Japan, Australia, everybody.
There's people feeding themselves all the way around the world. There's people that are making pipes now because that became a movement.
He was the first one to really travel around and do it, mobily and to kind of push the American pipe scene.
This is a cool little culture of entrepreneurs and artists who all work for themselves, create these pieces and create their own business. And they wake up every day, they shape the glass, and then they also shape themselves by learning how to communicate with people to sell stuff, by doing their own accounting. So there's a lot more to it, these glassblowers who are successful, than just some dumb stoner making a pipe. My name's Eli Mazet.
My name is LeFrancis.
Josh Mazet.
My name's Jason Harris.
Delane Peralta.
Your Uncle Bondu here.
My name's Corey Davey.
I'm Ham.
I'm Suzanne Tipton.
I'm Mike Philpott.
Cal Garvis.
I'm Julie Riggs.
Caleb Folk.
Seth Sims.
My name's H-Bomb.
one of 3 brothers, glass blowers, and we've had a family business for over 20 years together here in Eugene.
I'm the owner of LeFrancis Studios. We're the #1 glass blowing school in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been blowing glass for just over 6 years now.
Eugene glass blower, 20 years now.
I have been making glass pipes for 24 years.
Been blowing glass for 20 years. Almost 7 years now.
21 years now.
I got started making pipes in 1997.
18, 19 years.
About 3 years.
Since 2017.
What was it, May of 2000?
I've been blowing glass for 18 years.
Started blowing glass back in 1991 after I met the old man, Bob Snodgrass.
I guess if I hadn't go to my first experiences, go back to my Gilbert chemistry set with an alcohol lamp blowing some soft glass bubbles in my closet. Next experiences were chemistry class, I think that was sophomore year, and we learned to bend smaller than 7mm borosilicate. That's the first kind of smoking apparatus I learned to make.
Maybe it's sheer passion to imagine yourself on a torch in the first place, I think. And I could be wrong, but it seems to me that it's either in you or it isn't. If you watch the glass melt and find yourself enchanted with the fire, be careful. It just may be calling you. If you learn a little and can't stop thinking of doing more, you might be on the Emerald Brick Road already. Glass is definitely not for everyone. Materials are expensive, it's hard to control, the work area has many demands, and it is always potentially dangerous to handle glass and fire. But for those who devote themselves to it fully, it offers many deep rewards. It's funny, talking to so many glass artists about the roads that led them to now. Looking back, these journeys seem steered by fate, where the paths taken to Pipetown are as varied as the styles of glass you will find there.
I was the only brother that was born in Eugene. My 2 brothers were born in Wyoming.
I was born in Wyoming. We didn't actually historically have family in Oregon. My mom's parents ended up moving here, and so we just ended up out here also.
So
pretty lucky deal, though, I thought.
Why is that?
Well, we could have grown up as Wyoming rednecks or something, but instead we became slightly Oregon rednecks. So
I moved up here with a group of friends just to get away from my hometown. I really liked Oregon because of the national forests.
I started out in Virginia.
Virginia. What's the scene like in Virginia?
There was about 6 glass blowers that I knew in the area.
I was actually worked at UPS, and I had a bunch of jobs growing up. I was one of those kids that just loved to work. In fact, I thought I was going to work at UPS the rest of my life. And then my brother got this job at a glassblowing factory, this Bong company, JBD. He worked there actually for a few years and then had maybe a year and then brought me over to a guy who would blow glass at night. And I knew immediately right when I saw it that I wanted to do it.
When I was a kid, I just made things, all kinds of things, out of whatever materials. I pretty much knew I was going to be a glass blower, and I worked hourly jobs and did the things, you know, did my hustling and earned up my pennies so that I could buy my equipment and start blowing glass. And I started when I was 19, and it's what I've done ever since.
I first really started hearing about glass pipes, probably 1996 is when I became really aware of them. I came out with first contemporary lampworking book around that time. And people were really excited because just the timing of when that book came out, it happened to coincide with when the pipes were kind of exploding and taking off, starting to take off in a certain way, and also the glass bead making scene was taking off.
We didn't have pipe culture in the South, so there was no way for me to even discover pipe and pipe culture until I got to Eugene, and then there was all this, it was everywhere.
My brother brought me over to a guy who would blow glass at night, a guy named Oscar. And I knew immediately right when I saw it that I wanted to do it. So I ended up buying all the equipment for it and went home, and me and my younger brother, and I couldn't do it. It looked so easy to do. Like, you look watching somebody make glass and you're like, dude, I can do that. And you go and try to do it and you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I just spent all this money to blow glass.
So there's not a lot of glass happening in Virginia when you were there?
There's a lot more now, but the laws are really strict. I was talking with the editor of High Times, and he said if I was making pipes or growing weed in Virginia, that I was taking my life into my own hands and that I should probably move. I was already planning on moving to the West Coast anyway, but that made it, sped it up a little bit.
I was living in Missouri, and I saw a guy out in the woods at a rainbow gathering making pipes. So I sat and watched him all day because it was magical. He was in the woods with a torch and making pipes. And I asked him, where did he learn? He said, Eugene, Oregon. And I said, okay, I'm going there. So I packed up my shit and I moved to Eugene, Oregon.
I originally wanted to live in Portland, but I had some friends in Grants Pass that were moving and they were gonna come to Eugene. I knew restaurants and construction when I moved here, so I had limited options as far as career choices. And there was a neon sign guy, Neil Connor, Neon Latitudes. Actually, if we're talking classic Eugene characters. He used to come to the coffee shop every single day and have breakfast. And I wanted out, and I asked him if he had any work for me for a few weeks to get me through to find a job, and I ended up working with him for 3 years.
I met people around town that were doing it, trying to make pipes, and I never thought anything of it, like that I would do it. I eventually met Clinton Roman, ended up living with him, and he was like, you're very artistic, you should be doing this. And so he got me started on it.
Don't tell my mom this, but I actually made some pipes when I was in high school.
I've been a cook, I've pumped gas, I've been a landscaper, been in construction and building houses. Then I got into glass. My buddy Mark McCourt is the one who got me into blowing glass. He's like, hey, come over, have a beer, check out what I'm doing. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm blowing glass. So instantly I was like, hell yeah, I want to come check it out.
I taught myself for the first year, and then I found out about Penland School of Crafts in North Carolina and the Corning Museum of Glass, and I just started taking classes there, as many classes as I could get into.
Guy walked in, dreadlock dude with a crazy broken neon sign that was graffiti, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool sign. What do you do? And he said, we make bongs. And I said, you got a night shift? And he said, we just started one, come on down. Started at nights doing slides with Jerome Baker Designs, because that was Saeed Motati that was the guy who walked in the shop, and I stopped doing the neon, and basically the rest is history.
Over time, I got to know Bob well and his son, and real magical people, magical beings, and I wanted to be a part of that. And so I asked him, will he teach me? And he gave me some pointers and some lessons, and I needed a torch at that point and equipment to do it myself. And so I went up, I made all the money I needed for this shit in Alaska. I went up there fishing for a couple months, came back with my, $5,000 and got my torch and my stuff.
So what was your work before you became a glass blower?
I was doing auto glass at the time, motorhome windshields mainly, and then I broke my wrist and messed it up really bad, and could never do physical labor again. So started blowing glass. This guy Rex Trim was one of my wife's customers. My wife worked for Winship, and he was like, hey, if you can stripe a 5mm rod with a cast on, you can work for me doing wrap and rake prep. And so I did wrap and rake prep with a cast.
I was taking classes at a local community college, and I was apprenticing to be a tattoo artist, and I was just trying to find my medium, drawing and painting, and it was just not what I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And then they started offering glassblowing classes at the college, and as soon as I saw that, I got so excited. And they kept canceling all the classes because they didn't have the facilities. I waited for a couple of years, they still didn't have the classes, and I started going around to all the shops and asking for an apprenticeship. Nobody would teach me anything, so I bought everything that I thought I needed. I got a loan, and I built a little shed out back of my grandma's house, and I started teaching myself.
Ended up running into some people in Grants Pass, and they sent me over to this guy named Cowboy in Eugene, and he welcomed me with open arms, and I'm working in his studio, and now I'm here at the Saturday market selling glass. It's awesome. It brought me to Eugene, somewhere I never really thought I would be. Thought I would be stuck in Arizona forever, and I finally got to come out here and make my dreams happen. The community and the glass scene out here it's amazing, it's something so different than Arizona. I'm in a shop right now with 12 other glass blowers, and that's not really in Arizona.
I'm from Boise, Idaho, so in Idaho we don't have anything really like the pipe movement going on. But you come out here to Eugene and you have people that they've been doing it like the Mazets for 25, 30 years or so, and it really speaks when you look at their work and you can see it, and there's just so much to learn out here.
I started blowing glass elsewhere, moved around the area, ended up in Eugene thinking I'd only be here for 6 months or a year, and here we are 2 decades later, and I'm still in Eugene.
Well, I love Eugene. I could never move away from Eugene. I respect and am grateful for Eugene.
Popular glass history begins on the Venetian island of Murano, Italy, the birthplace of Venetian glass. Venetian glass has a history reaching back at least 1,500 years, since Venice was controlled by the Byzantine Empire. Glass was being made in China, Egypt, and Mesopotamia for at least 1,000 years before that, but Murano was the first major center of glass making in Europe, and Venetian glass the first style to be consistently produced, refined, and recognized on a level never before attained. Is it presumptuous to speak of Eugene, Oregon as the Murano of modern borosilicate pipe making? There are parallels, from the close-knit local community of artists to the original secrecy around technique and method, to the apprentice model of teaching, an initial resistance and distrust of imports, to the explosive synergy of art and new commerce, and eventually to the creation of an entire art-savvy merchant class. Pretty heady stuff for a little hippie town. Some people have talked about Eugene might have the reputation of being kind of a mecca for glass.
Yes, for glass pipes, for lamp working.
Talk about that a little bit.
Because of Bob Snodgrass.
Well, Snodgrass ends up moving here, in the 80s and comes down to the Saturday market. He sees all these artists there, and of course he's an artist, and so he wants to stay in Eugene.
Eugene is a cottage industry town. They have a Saturday market that they sell, blankets that they make or hats that they make or other things like this. So it has a venue for sales. You have a lot of hippies coming through, a lot of concerts, the college. There's an avenue to sell the glass and the pipes. So I think that had a lot to do with creating, this Eugene as the centerpiece of the pipe making movement. And absolutely it is.
When I first saw glass pipes, there was like the bongs in the head shop that were like graphics. They had glass slides and they were all foreign made. And then all of a sudden there were fume pipes. The little hand pipe with the fume that changed color. It was like this amazing gift from, Eugene. And every time you would ask somebody in a store, like, where did this come from? That was it. We got these from Oregon. That's where they came from. Bob's discovery of using fuming on glass was really the start of it all.
During this time on Grateful Dead tour, somebody popped out with a pipe that I had never seen anything like it. It was this bluish kind of thing. It looked like something from the aliens, and when you smoked in it, it appeared to change colors the more you used it. And so I've never had experienced anything like this in my life, and I heard the dude's name that made it was Bob Snodgrass.
Well, the fact that I accidentally discovered silver fuming and started drawing pictures in it made it a step above what my friend Steve Ludwig's work looked like. His was either patterns, which were really great, or lines and dots. That was basically all he ever did. I started augmenting my lines and making pictures and trapping layers of glass and building them up in multiple layers and ending up getting a final conclusion on a piece that it'd be 3D when you looked at it.
It was clear to me when I first encountered the pipe scene in Eugene that this was a real hotbed of creativity.
It was a small, tight-knit community of glass artists here that I was seeing their work in the stores and had no idea, but I'd always ask, who made that? Like, this is really neat. Who the hell made that? To tell me a name, and I'd try to remember it, hoping that one day it would actually lead to something.
This is the Pipetown, dude. Eugene is the mecca of glassblowing. Like, it's where every glassblower wants to be.
This place, Eugene, is considered definitely one of the meccas because of some of the originators still being here, like Bob Snodgrass.
So people were flocking to Eugene just so they could buy a snotty or maybe take a class or an apprenticeship was what you had to do back then.
Well, I have to admit I was a little skeptical of the pipe scene at first. A lot of the pipe makers were just, kids lifting themselves up by their own bootstraps, trying to make some funky thing, and the level of sophistication and design wasn't that great. They didn't have art training. They didn't have a lot of technical glass training. I mean, people used words like diacrylic, if you remember that. And people had all kinds of crazy, sometimes stupid theories about annealing, so part of my motivation when I revised my book was to make sure some of this real basic information, technical stuff, was accessible and clear to people. But if you look at the studio glass movement in America, which is now highly respected, if you look at the early stuff from like the 60s, it's very much like the way early pipes were. I mean, lumpy, funky, asymmetrical, not a lot of control of material, not a lot of finesse.
At one point during this time with these national torches, we hooked in with a crew in New York that was flying Chris and I out there, and they would get us out from the airport, take us to the house in Manhattan, and put our scales, our pieces right there on a scale. Right on the Tanita, boom, $10 a gram they paid us, because nobody could do big marbles and nobody could do thick stuff. So we'd get on the plane, go right back to Eugene and just make pipes. Try to wad up the most glass we could and put it on the fucking thing. We didn't know about it,
But it evolved fairly quickly just because of the numbers of people involved.
That's what you see happening today. You know, you see this big boom of glass blowers that are going to Vegas, they're going to all kinds of shows, and this intense creativity that happened from Snodgrass teaching somebody. It's what happened in Italy and Murano. You would have this spill-off information, and someone would learn from this shop, and someone learned, then it would go up to Corvallis, and it would go to all these different places, and people would share information.
In the 90s, the internet was tiny, and you couldn't get any information out of it. It was like, we'll sell you something, but you know, it's not the same. And I think that forging that market was a big part of what he did.
I was innovative on my pipes. I made styles that weren't previously used, and what else can I say I did there? I just worked with an innovative material.
Bob Snodgrass wouldn't be Bob Snodgrass if he didn't deflect undeserved glory at every turn. The father of fuming, as he is known to many, will be the first to tell you that Steve Ludwig was using gold chloride and silver nitrate to fume glass before Bob began using whole metal vapor to much success. Bob will be the first to tell you when asked exactly what he learned from Chuck Murphy.
These are examples of my teacher's work. He applied layers over layers and created images on clear glass on clear.
Bob will happily relate what his contemporaries were doing with glass in the 80s and what he himself added on and finally innovated.
Was the paperless...
Bob doesn't need to shroud the truth in a mysterious fog because it was more than simple technique that elevated Bob Snodgrass to such revered status in the glass community. It was the fellowship he created, the community who still loves him back. Because just like in Murano with the title of Maestro, it is the community that names its masters, not the individual themselves. It's more than any one piece or technique that makes so many glassblowers today worth following and supporting. It's the creativity they harness and bring into the world. It's the many, many days they invest, the time spent sweating before the flame and even bleeding before the gods of glass. It's the community they create and nurture all around them. It's the hard knocks they endure as a working glass artist who won't give up. Which is to say, glory may be given, but not without the grind. Do you make any or all or some of your living with your glasswork?
All.
All. You support yourself entirely with your glasswork. That's hard to do.
It is very hard to do. It's a struggle sometimes.
You know, just trying to hustle and, you know, be a part of this event that's going on and meet all the people, because we don't really know anyone out here, you know. We're just staying out of our van and trying to, you know, be my own boss, you know, try and work full time, hustle, you know.
It's like the best job in the world, in my opinion. My own boss, drink, smoke all day while I'm working, pick my own hours, work my own shifts, work as long as I want or as little as I want, create anything I want, anything I put my mind to. You can't do that at a lot of jobs. You're hired to do this and this only. And if you try to do too much, you might even get in trouble. You know, it's like, well, that's Jim's job.
First job out of college was at Jerome Baker, and I worked there for 2 years. And then after that, I went off and I started supporting myself through ceramics, and then about 2 years out of JPD, took up glassblowing again with Eli. Eli was pursuing it, and we both kind of just got together and started making some work.
And Took off from there?
And it took off from there, yeah. Definitely a very lucky way to come up. But again, that's the advantage of being in Pipetown or Eugene, you know, that's one of the lucky stories.
Until one day I saw an ad in the Register Guard, applied for a job to blow glass. I was like, I've made like 30 pipes. I'm a glass blower now. I watched them finish their interview with this other guy. We all exchanged names. And then this dude walks up out of nowhere. Sorry guys, I'm late. I'm always late, but I'm the sickest glass blower in town. Here's my shit. Whips out a dirty pipe in the middle of this cafe. And it was just like, I just sat back and I was like, whoa. And they're like, okay, we got your info. We'll give you a holler and let you know. On his way out, he's like, you guys are gonna be upset if you don't take me. They told me they interviewed over 30 people. And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go home, never hear from these guys again. Called me the next morning, you got the job. I freaked out, jumped out of bed, didn't know what to do. I was like, are you guys effing with me, you know?
I think that there's plenty of room for even more glass growth as artists for people to make money. I know that. I mean, I could prove it. The glass pipe industry, yeah, that's a tricky one.
I noticed a couple years ago, I started taking a decline in what people were paying for glass from everybody. Also, there was too much glass.
Plethora of glass blowers, and then you meet somebody and they're like, my cousin's brother blows glass, you know? So
We would literally have people, everybody would come up and like, oh, my neighbor blows glass, my grandma blows glass.
And their friend, the glass blower, is definitely the best of all the glass blowers, so why would they be purchasing glass through the traditional brick and mortar stores?
it's really hard to sell stuff here in Eugene. So there's only a handful of dispensaries who will like spend some money on the local glass.
I don't know that I have any of my work on any shelves here in Eugene, and that kind of bums me out. Like, I would like to have representation here in my hometown. I think that I'm fortunate that a lot of my collectors are exactly that. They've followed my career for a very long time now, and they may be collecting more from the point of view of an art collector than someone who just needs a bong. So I'd like to believe that my position is fairly secure within the level of security that this industry has to offer. But that really, I mean, all things are changing all of the time.
Back in the day, we would have to drive and go make sales trips. So there was, no trade shows in the 90s. You made more money, and this is still true today, by going out on the road and hitting up all the stores. Because once you're there in their store, they see your product and can touch it and feel it, and they're more apt to buy it as well.
My Volkswagen is a solar panel on top, and it's actually a one-man studio.
Going to the head shops yourself all across the country, traveling around to Grateful Dead shows and selling your wares, like that's where it started. We have it easy now, and so many people are like, oh, it's so hard, but no, it was hard back then.
I don't know how much security one can expect from the life of an artisan or a craftsperson. You're really dependent on the fickle nature of the market.
The head shops, the whole thing, it just seems to be such a peaks and valleys kind of scene. It obviously seems there's room for everyone. I mean, everybody's selling glass, so.
That really, you could just take a glass blower and probably drop them about anywhere in the world, and they can probably make their way somehow just with the skills they have, especially after as long as, if you get 20 years and it's actually real dedicated time.
I found out if I worked as many hours that I could, that I would become more lucky. I would have success the more things that I made. I didn't go to college and graduate glass. It's like the hard knocks thing, kind of. I put myself through school, and me and my brothers, to have the success. It's like anything else. They say you got to learn from your failures. Well, glass teaches you that right away. It's the basic fundamentals of glass is that you break something, drop it on the ground, and you make another one.
In the early glass pipe movement, secrecy was the word of the day. Glass blowers were known to closely and jealously guard their techniques and methods of working. This secrecy mirrors the history of Venetian glass in Murano, where the local government passed laws to prevent glass blowers from even leaving the island with their valuable knowledge upon threat of death. In Eugene, though, there are no officials telling artists what to do with their hard-earned glass wisdom. And in the absence of that control, they have chosen differently.
Over your career, what changes in the industry have you seen that you think are the most significant?
Oh, the end of secretiveness.
I teach constantly, as much as I can. I give away knowledge free all the time, and that wasn't the case when I started. Bob was really the only person that talked to me freely about glass. And I don't know why it was the way it was. Maybe people were just afraid, maybe you won't get the sales. I mean, if you're forging a market and you're the only one out there, you're going to be the one making all the money. And, that's going to hurt your livelihood for somebody else to come in and learn those things. But, there's a certain level of ingenuity that people in the glass industry have that is coming not from somebody sharing a technique. The innovations that have happened in the past 10 years, 15 years, they didn't happen because I taught somebody else something. They happened because I taught them the basics, and then they said, what can I do with this small bit of knowledge that I have?
You teach your students, and then you encourage them. You hope that they will do something beyond what you taught them, because that's how it's supposed to work.
I encourage you all to fact check me. In fact, if you're good with Google, do it right now and we can all get better information out of it.
I found my one collector who kind of helped finance me, and one of his friends, after I got to know them for a while, said, well, he doesn't really make glass anymore, he makes glass blowers. And I thought, wow, I never thought about it.
I just kept meeting more and more glass artists in person, and everybody was really open and welcoming to show me techniques.
Moving 3,000 miles away from my home, I felt like I was moving into just another home because I know so many people here already. It wasn't scary. I also feel like I've lost the ability to talk to people who aren't in our industry now living in Eugene.
You get spoiled.
Yeah.
If you learn a technique from one person and then that person teaches 5 people and those 5 people teach, 5 people each, there's no other way to do it. We all share that, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's necessary for this movement to continue.
In old Murano, men dominated the glass-blowing trade. That still holds true now, in Italy as well as in the USA. But you'd have to work pretty hard to miss all the amazing glass that women artists are creating today.
Let's give it up for V, everybody. Imagine how hard it is to be in an industry where it is male-dominated by 99.9999%.
Do you make a living partially or fully at all from working with glass?
Yeah, full time. Yeah, I go hard-ish. I mean, I have teenagers, so, there's always the runaround of that life, but I'm a full-time mom and a full-time glass artist.
I had a daughter, I still have a daughter, and she needed more money than I could make making pipes at the time, and I wanted the security of having a paycheck for a few years while she was going to school, and it made sense for me to go to college. I had a full-time job and got her through high school, and once she was done with high school, guess where I am? Right back to making pipes.
I'm a single mom and I've got 12 acres and kids and lots of things to take care of besides glass.
In 2019, do women still face unique challenges working in the field of glass?
Absolutely. I think any career is still facing a lot of challenges for women. So.
Has it gotten better?
It has gotten better, especially the more women there are making glass pipes and getting better at it.
I'm really grateful for the women that came before me because I know that a lot of women did take a lot of slack and did put their foot in the industry, pave the way so we can follow trail, by these amazing women in glass that put up with maybe a little bit of razz and a sazz.
It used to be more of an issue than it is nowadays. I would rather just be seen as an artist than as a female glass artist, but it's inevitably happens. And there's still prejudice, and we get treated differently, but it's not like it used to be. It's much more accepting.
I don't feel like our brothers are like out to, be rude to us, or I think the only thing bad is, I would say, you guys have to give us a little bit more credit when there's girls in the room. We're not always the girlfriend of the glassblower. That sucks. Because I feel like a lot of times,
you're just a Marber tart.
It's just assumed that maybe I'm someone's girlfriend, but I'm an actual artist. I make glass. See? So yeah, make sure you say hello to the girls in the room, because some of them are talented and you're missing out.
You got to have a thick skin to be in this industry.
Glass connects the microscope to the telescope, to the crystal ball, and beyond, to major advances in technologies in multiple disciplines. And there really is something about glass. It's unique in this world. Unique and powerful in application, and blindingly beautiful, both in motion and at rest. Maybe that's the heart of it. Maybe it's that simple. Maybe it's just beauty that keeps glass artists doing what they do, day after day, despite the challenges.
There's so many different facets to glass. It's mesmerizing. You don't look through a piece of wood, and you don't look through a piece of metal or a piece of pottery to see what your DNA is or what your genetic code is. And you don't look through the same medium to look thousands and thousands and thousands of years into the future.
At some time, I saw someone at like a county fair just making little granny crafts, little glass teddy bears and swans and things. And I just saw how this material moved and how you were able to shape it. And I knew right there that that was the glass was the greatest sculptural medium I'd ever come across, and that's what I would do.
My life is glass. I wake up, I breathe it, I eat it, I blow it, I do everything, based on this beautiful thing that was handed to me by Bob Snodgrass.
My pitch used to be, have you ever smoked out of glass? Because the majority of the people hadn't even heard of a glass pipe.
My grandma, she always bought me all my art supplies just at the local art store back in town, and I just loved seeing all the pastels and the paints and the brushes, and I never really fantasized about being an artist because not many people nowadays go out and buy paintings. So when I came across glass as a medium, I was kind of like, wow.
Blowing glass, something I was very interested in. I ended up finding a class with the Mazet brothers, with Eli and Josh. Just worked my way up, doing all the stuff in Las Vegas to open up my glass school. I just love giving the classes just to see the expression on the students' face. Most of them are brand new, never done anything with glass before, and to actually see their facial expressions, how happy they are. They could turn this little rod into an actual little glass pendant or anything that we do that way. So just seeing how happy they are, that's what brings me to joy.
It's a passion. Like, I love blowing glass. It's awesome, dude. It's like the best job in the world.
We don't blow glass because we want to go punch a time clock. You know, we blow glass because we love glass.
I mean, we're doing this stuff for fun. Like, yeah, some people go and they want to make money, you know, but glass, if you let it and you want it to, you can make money and have fun.
Glass, it's one of the things that attracts people for sure. The brightness and movement, fluidity of it, creativity behind it, and the function. It's a pipe. You can smoke out of it.
I was doing, in my late 20s, $4 million a year in sales. I had 70 employees in Eugene. And in one day, February 22nd, 2003, I got a knock on the door about 6 a.m. I went upstairs and there was more police outside than I can ever imagine. They opened the door, I got hogtied, and eventually they had set up a little camp in my living room, you know, DEA, Postmaster General, all these people, and wanted to know what this stuff I had in the house was, this paraphernalia. You know, and I'm looking at it, I said, this is horses on a beautiful pipe. This is, you know, clowns on a pipe. You know, just, that's what I view it as no matter what. It's a beautiful piece of art. I made the fucking thing. It takes a long time, you know what I mean? It takes some heart.
Glass pipes had this culture of people who smoked weed. They're passing this glass pipe around. Everybody would see it. It almost starts to end up becoming almost like you're passing your trophy piece around. Somebody comes over here like, wow, look what I got. You know, so it was almost like a baseball card kind of effect. Like, ooh, I got this one from this guy, or look at this. This has an opal on it.
The creativity that pipe makers are, you know, the crazy wild things that they're making has really enabled artists to flourish, because the pipe market will really accept an incredible variety of stuff. You know, people are looking for something that's weird, you know, whereas the more conventional art scene, sometimes something that's weird takes a while to catch on.
No glass blowers are being told to stay behind city walls or being threatened with death in Eugene, Oregon. And chances are good if you end up in his presence, Bob Snodgrass himself will be happy to drop some tips on you free of charge.
Use a steel file. Do you see some action on there? Pick them up under the magnetic, drag them up the side. That would have been a black spot, and I see there's another piece on
The lived experience of glassblowers remains a valuable resource. It sells classes, it sells webinars, it sells DVDs, it sells spectator seat tickets at glass demos around the world. And this is because working with glass is difficult, and nothing seems to educate better when it comes to glass than that one-on-one exchange.
Fruit keeps the scurvy away.
So obviously, I had to ask the artists in front of me what wisdom they might pass along to someone new on the torch.
On my face.
And luckily, because we're not in Murano of olden days, they were pretty generous with their thoughts. What one piece of advice could you give a young person if they think they might want to do that?
If they think they might want to do it, then they're probably not going to do it. But if they know that that's what they want to do, then that's what they're going to do. And there was nothing that could have stopped me from blowing glass.
Visualize a movie in your head. That's the first thing before you even go to the torch. And that's what it takes. Like these things that I make, all these little animals and shot glasses, they all start off in a dream first. So once you get really good at glass, you also get good at dreaming, because a guy like me that just comes in and makes pretty much, you know, random stuff is dreaming all the time. Something that I feel that has taken me to another level is really tapping into that dream.
In this ever more competitive market, a lot of people are not going to make it. If you want to be one of the people that does make it, you're really going to have to work very hard. You have to work doubly hard to create your name in this competitive world that we're in now.
Make a product that you know is going to stand the test of time, you know, like, I mean, if you want to do it forever, $20 hand pipes are going to sell till the end of time. If you can make a production spoon, you're going to have a job. I tried to get my kid to make bong stems back in the day, and Ham was like, that's the stupidest fucking advice there. Why would you limit yourself? And I'm like, whoa, dude, like, you're really good, and you struggle sometimes. There are people who make production bong stems who have 2 houses, you know? The Homeblown Glass, that dude brings kegs of beer to the show and gives it out to his friends. He has lighters and frisbees and t-shirts and hats, and you know what he makes for a living? Fucking bong stems, man.
Be diverse. And as soon as I say that, though, I can make an argument why focusing on one single thing and not being diverse is also an advantage. I see both people successful too, so there's not even a great model out there. You see guys out there that they just pick that one thing and they become really successful with that one thing. And then I look at those guys often and think like, oh, you're one trick pony person. That's what you do. And then can that person survive and out there like a person that's diverse can? Well, being diverse, you sacrifice being so focused or so recognized for what you do sometimes. So, yeah.
A boxer has an agent or a manager, so a glassblower is the same thing. Some glassblowers need a manager.
Stick with it. Like, I've taught so many glassblowers, and I really feel like there's only maybe 3 or 4 who are still doing it. And it's tough, because those guys are now in my shoes as they want to do it for a living, and they're having to do new shit. The only way you do new shit is by trying something new. The only way you be successful at that is either really fucking lucky and you thought about it enough to get it on your first try, or you failed a few times to get to that level, and then you're there. Like, once you get past the failure, you are a success.
Nobody taught me to be careful with my money. This is a life of feast and famine. Like, when it comes in heavy. And you're like, yay, party, we're rich. And then when it dries up, it can be hard. You have to be prepared to make it through the rough spots. And when the feast comes in, don't squander your shit. Re-up your supplies, put that shit away. You don't know what tomorrow brings. So don't assume that what your success is right now is the success you have 2 months from now. But also don't assume that the rough spots are where you're stuck forever.
Not a bad idea to learn a little bit about business and learn how to communicate with people and to forgive people, those kind of things.
I mean, really, it is time. It's just commitment and time. It's like that 10,000 hours, that's really going to be the thing. I mean, you might get lucky and find something that becomes instantly popular and it supports you while you figure things out. But if you're truly dedicated with time, there's no substitute for that. And all the people that I know that are successful in this industry have put time in.
And then there's other guys who can make, I won't say what kind of pendant, but, a head, and it's a pendant, and it takes them a couple hours, and it's $1,000, and they just sell them one right after the other. That's not being a good glassblower. That is marketing 100%. That would be my best advice, I guess, to anybody coming into the glassblowing world. Learn how to sell your product or yourself before you even figure out what product you're gonna make. Because if you can't sell yourself, who's gonna buy your shit? Everybody makes stuff nowadays. Everybody makes pipes.
There's enough room for tons of rock singers, Kenny Rogers, Metallica, Def Leppard. If you look at it that way, then you can see the positivities in it more. There's a lot of room out there for contributions to glass.
Some guys hang out outside all day. I hang out right fucking there on my torch. Do it if you want to become something in the industry and you want to do what you want to do. Work your fucking ass off. Have a passion for it and push, and don't be scared. Definitely don't be scared to work 10 hours, 12 hours a day, every single day for many years to get good. It takes a while. It doesn't just happen.
But yeah, maybe just being humble and treating people with respect, and that's what's going to get you in the long run, working things out in relationships and treating each other right and trying to sometimes give in a little bit.
And I think it's really important to always remember that whatever you think is your great accomplishment right now really isn't shit compared to what your accomplishments in the future will be. So like keep some humility, stay objective about this. As soon as you think that you are good enough, you will stop getting better. So never believe that you've already accomplished your peak.
Don't ever let anybody tell you who you are. Go with your gut. Feel it for yourself because you know the way. Don't let anybody influence you with any kind of negativity or judgment about your art or you as a person. It's really easy to get distracted, and so you have to remember to stay true to yourself and try, just try, just keep doing it.
Again, much like Murano, Italy, fears of a weakened and unstable glass market due to imports are a concern, or have been in the past. No working artist wants to see an already unpredictable calling made even the slightest bit less reliable. For some, it is a worry that lingers. Others see it through a different lens. What is the future for the glass pipe scene, considering mass production and cheaper imports are crowding out the ability to make a decent wage selling them here? Or do you think that's true even?
Oh, it's definitely true. And I've heard it from a lot of people. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I'd like to say positive things about it, but I've heard from a lot of people that it's getting harder and harder.
I mean, there's a time coming where, we can only make so many pipes, and with the influx of pipes from all over the world, you can at this point. There's little areas all over the world property. It's just going to be a saturated market, and that's when that diversity is going to come in nice. That is when those guys that have made their claim on a carp cap are going to have a hard time pivoting to something else.
We see the industry change so much and so rapidly. We don't know what the next trend is going to be. We see a lot of people using like vape pens and e-gadgets and things instead of spending that money on a piece of glass.
It's flowers, then it was oil, then it's these resins and stuff, and it's all the different ways to smoke them in these low temperatures. And the culture actually does dictate what happens in glass. I'd be looking at what is the next material that people are enjoying smoking, because that's what drives everything.
There's not a pipe machine at least making 243 pipes every minute. When that comes, which I know it will someday, then we can see the shutdown of the glass pipe industry for a proto line on some particular product. We were talking about the future of glass pipes. That might be something in the future, but there's always going to be room, I think, for those art pipes.
If artist entrepreneurs like these have anything at all to do with it, the future of the handmade glass art pipe movement is in good hands. As you have just seen, that's the devotion these artists have for glass. That's the passion they bring to it. The best glass artists don't just exist as part of the community. They don't just thrive in it. They give back as much as they take, like Bob Snodgrass did, like Bob still does. As Cool Hand Suze and Jason Harris and others pointed out, that's what the movement needs to continue. That's what it means to be part of a glass community. That's how it lives on.
There's never been an economical impact study of what the pipe did for an industry of people raising their families with kids in the backyard, eating and playing and going to the movies. My daughters, everything's been paid for by glass. The whole life I've got going is because
My kids all have been fed because of glass. My brother's kids. I've helped good friends start glass businesses and change lives. You know, like change people's lives like mine was changed. I think the most exciting thing is just looking for the next opportunity that glass is going to give me. It's going back to that dreaming, and I hate to say it again, but it's all those things that you never thought were going to happen to you that end up happening to you, and that's the life that I live because of glass. The future of glass, I see nothing but great opportunities, and I stay optimistic because that's what glass does for me. It keeps me optimistic. I always know that I can go make a little piece, and there's millions and millions of people in the world, and the things that I make are so unique. I feel confident with it, and the glass gives me the confidence. And so the future looks really optimistic looking through the lens. Glass saved my life. You know, it really did. It saved a lot of my friends' lives. I could name them. I could write a list. It's pretty cool. It saves a lot of people's lives. I know it sounds almost dramatic, but it really does. Pipe got me into learning about technology and other things in glass, the science of glass. That's what I like about the pipe and being born in Eugene, is that I was able to take the pipe and take knowledge out of the pipe from glass to a molecular level.
Project my voice. Project my voice. Can you hear me now? Joaquin, can you hear me now? You got it?
Pipetown, USA.
Pipetown, USA. #1 Pipetown.
Pipetown, USA, nice. yeah, it fits.
Are you ever on this side of the camera? You should really subject yourself to it sometimes.
I'm thinking of possibly doing a little narration in this one to tie all the disparate parts together. And I was
Nice.
just made me look sweet. Don't make me look like an asshole I really am.
Let's go.